good morning or good afternoon, third and fourth graders. Today for Wisconsin, we are going to take just a small look at their history. There is a lot to uncover with Wisconsin history, but we only have time to do a very short amount of it given the circumstances that we are in right now. So what I'm going to do today is talk to you mostly about the start of Wisconsin regarding Native Americans and the fur trade. Okay, and then tomorrow you will be learning about one other part of Wisconsin history, the Peshtigo Fire. All right, so I have a couple of things I will be reading to you, and I will be displaying some images up here that will be going along with the readings. So first of all, I want to give you some background information on the Native Americans. There are two books I will be using today. One of them, this Wisconsin book, was written by kids, so the information that you'll be hearing was researched by them and put together in a book. And this is a wonderful resource that if you're in the classroom next year for Wisconsin, you could get a chance to take a look at. The other one is the official Wisconsin book that we typically use when teaching Wisconsin, but however, we just don't really have the opportunity for you to have those books at this time. So first of all, out of the Wisconsin by kids is the Native American information. It says, the first people in Wisconsin were the Paleo Indians. They arrived about 10,000 BC as the glaciers moved north into Canada. The Paleo made shelter under rock cliffs along the Wisconsin River. They hunted woolly mammoths and caribou and fished for northern muskie, walleye, trout, and panfish. As the climate warmed, pine and birch trees began growing. The Indians learned to make jewelry and tools from natural materials. Over thousands of years, the Indians formed different tribes with their own cultural and spiritual beliefs. The Winnebago, or Ho-Chunk Indians, and the Menominee Indians occupied Wisconsin in the Great Lakes region when the French explorers arrived around 1634. In the mid-17th century, most of the tribes were killed by disease and warfare. Later, the population started to grow. However, after 200 years of contact with French and British traders, the Winnebago and Menominee tribes never regained much military strength. Another influential tribe, the Ojibwa or Chippewa tribe, migrated to Wisconsin from north of Lakes Huron and Superior. As trade grew, the tribe was forced to give up much of its land. In the late 1700s, the Ojibwa occupied villages in northern Wisconsin and Minnesota. They remained there until the Removal Act of 1830, which forced many Indians to move westward. Today, there are 7 bands of Chippewa in northern Wisconsin and Minnesota. These and other tribes helped shape Wisconsin's history with their people and culture. Now, you might have heard in there that they did deal with many French and British traders. As we're going to be reading in a moment here, there are many French explorers that came to Wisconsin at this particular time. They were able to come through from the ocean, through the St. Lawrence Seaway, the Great Lakes region, and into the Wisconsin area to trade and then be able to go out that same route to bring their fur back to Europe to sell to their European communities. All right, fur trading. Not many people know about fur trading in Wisconsin, but it was very important to the formation of the state. Fur trading began with the French and Native Americans in the early 1600s and continued to the 1820s. All of the Great Lakes states were involved with fur trading. The Europeans either hunted and trapped with the Indians or traded European goods to the Indians for animal skins. The most popular animal skin was the beaver pelt. The beaver pelts were taken back to France, made into hats or many other things, and then sold in Europe. Europeans considered the beaver pelts soft gold because there was such a craze for the beaver skins back in Europe. The British decided they wanted to control the fur trade in the Great Lakes region. Fighting broke out because everyone wanted to get the money from the soft gold. In 1763, the British defeated the French and took over the fur trade. The British controlled the fur trade until the War of 1812. At this time, the Wisconsin Territory became a part of the United States. The Americans controlled the fur trade until the trade declined in the 1820s, which means it just wasn't as popular anymore. Fur trading was important in the history of Wisconsin. It brought many people to Wisconsin, which in turn helped the formation of the state. So if we hadn't had the fur trade, we may not have quickly or easily formed into the state that we are today. Now I have a little bit more specific information in our Wisconsin book about some of the actual major fur trade players at that time. All of them with fancy French names that I will put up here for you to be easier for you to see what I'm saying. Okay. The French arrived. So this is in the 1600s, before 200 years plus before we're actually a state. People are in the land of what will become the United States, and nothing is formally claimed. Native Americans are still in their native original areas. All right, the French arrive. French explorer Etienne Brulé visited the area around Lake Superior in 1622 or 1623. It is not clear whether he was the first European in what is now Wisconsin. Another French explorer, Jean Nicolet, is known to have visited present-day Wisconsin in 1634. He was looking for a way to sail across North America to China so the French could buy silk there and ship it home. Nicolet landed on the shore of Green Bay where he met a group of Indians. He wore a grand robe of China damask, all strewn with flowers and birds of many colors, wrote a man who knew him. Nicolet was far from China, but the Wisconsin woods held their own riches. The forests were full of muskrat, foxes, mink, and beavers, which Europeans valued for their furs. French fur traders soon made their way to Wisconsin. American Indian hunters traded their many animal skins for guns, cloth, and metal tools. Because at this time, the American Indians would not have had guns. They wouldn't have known what they were because they didn't have the resources to make them. Cloth would have been something they weren't used to having, and the same thing with metal tools. They would have been making tools out of bone from animals at that time. So they valued receiving guns, cloth, and metal tools for giving the Europeans fur. In 1673, two French explorers, Father Jacques Marquette, a Catholic priest, and Louis Joliet, a fur trader, became the first Europeans to cross present-day Wisconsin. They canoed from Green Bay as far as they could up the Fox River. Then Indians told them where to carry their boats from the Fox to the Wisconsin River, just 1.5 miles away. From there, they could travel downstream to the Mississippi River. French fur traders later used this path between rivers to move between trading posts on the Great Lakes and the Mississippi. Waterways would have been very important at this time because there are no trains, there's no horse and buggy. It would be a lot of water travel, that they would have had to do in order to get their goods from one place to the other. Okay, as I said, the fur trade did start declining by the 1820s. Many Native Americans by that point were starting to get pushed out of their lands and moved to what are called reservations, where they still are. So then there was a lot of resistance that was happening at that time then in the 1820s. British were taking over the fur trade. That was declining. Native Americans were getting pushed out of their lands. So lots of different things were happening at that time. Battles, small wars, things like that to try to get land claimed and back. We won't have time in the structure we're at to be able to get into those details. But what I need you to do is go to Google Classroom right now and look at the questions regarding the fur trade information we just went through today. And then tomorrow you'll be watching a YouTube video that explains the Peshtigo fire to you. All right. Have a good day.